Hello friends. So I had a request for eyeshadow sticks and eyeshadow stick tips. That's a mouthful. Also, this is fun. This is a blush. This is another one of those Maybelline blushes. It's this goldy orange. Pretty. That shade is Rooftop Views or 07. I had some meetings today and then we're getting things ready for next week in New York. So I'm just gonna do my eyes today, but I'm gonna give you a lot of tips on shadow sticks. Because some of y'all are not enjoying what you already have. Plus, I'm kind of excited to try these Jane Iredale. I'm excited to try these. All right, let's get started. So think about you're sitting down to do your makeup. First thing we're gonna think about is, do we have any excess skincare on our eyelids? Because too much skincare kind of getting in these folds is going to absolutely sabotage where we're about to go. So the first thing I want you to do is take a clean tissue or Sheila and just do some light blotting. And if you have oily lids, what I would want you to do is to take the tiniest whisper. See how you can barely even see that my finger is wet? Take that and just dab it all over your lid and then dab, okay? Just a wispity wisp. I don't have oily lids, so I don't have to do that. But that tiny amount, is it going to take away your skincare completely? What it's going to do is just make sure that you don't have all of those oils, because even while sitting here and your skincare's on your skin, your natural oils are starting to awaken, and especially if you live in a humid climate. So that little bit of micellar water is just kind of going to balance and get your lids ready. But I don't need to do that because I do not have oily lids. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're not gonna apply base. So an eyeshadow base underneath a stick can turn into chaos. So you definitely want to skip it, but it is important. A synthetic brush is going to be key for this. Of course, all of the Roseman Beauty brushes are synthetic, but an animal hair brush can sometimes, they get too wet and then they don't move that product around the way we're going to need that product to move. So let's just grab our eyeshadow stick. I'm going to roll it up about that much, and then I'm going to lay down quite a bit. Ooh, I like that color. Okay, but you're already going to notice something. I'm not going to do this eye yet. Eyeshadow sticks, they tend to dry down and set very quickly. So it's really easier and it's more beneficial to work one eye at a time. I am just tapping to transition that. Oh, that looks really nice. I love the. Now also, you're noticing the tapping, and yes, I teach that technique of tapping, but for some reason, the way that shadow sticks, they tend to dry down. They dry very quickly, which is a good thing. But it also means if we're going back and forth and swiping, what happens is as it's drying, it starts to lift. And that's when the patchiness happens. And that also messes with your wear time. Now, you can absolutely go in and you could add more. Don't be afraid of layering, because we have it so thin across the eye, but we still want to tap. Doug's snoring today. Jean's actually with Granny. That looks really nice. Tap that. Okay, now we're still gonna layer. I'm gonna teach you how to layer with these more. We're gonna use a darker color, all that good stuff. But let's do this again. And that body heat really helps keep it really pliable and easy to blend. So by swooping back and forth that many times, it really warmed it up with my body heat, and then it just melts and blends. Now we're gonna take this shade, it's called Alabaster, and we're gonna put that on our brow bone. And this color's pretty close to my skin tone, so I can kind of use it to clean up. Nice. Take the same brush, give it a couple wipes. And then just tap that to blend it. Nice. Now, oh, also I do want to recommend putting the lid back on. I mean, I know it's kind of common sense, but keeping the lid on these is always a good idea. So let's take this darker shade now, and I'm just going to put that on the outer part. Ooh, that's a nice brown. What shade is that? Americano. Now I want coffee. I should say more coffee. And I'm just gonna tap that, push that into the socket. I'm using the tip of the brush to kind of blend it around a little bit. That's a really pretty shade. You know what I will say is that if you've ever over blended your powder eyeshadows, this is kind of a fixing moment. Having a shadow stick in a dark brown like this is always a good idea, because you could go in and just barely tap to fill in gaps. So that's a really, really good tip. Having a couple shadow sticks is always a good idea, because not only we can use them like this, but they're very user-friendly. There's so many ways to use it, and they're fixers. That's what I was going to say. They're fixers. Now I'm knocking stuff over. Let's clean up these edges. Micellar water and our C30. It makes such a difference. Whee! Now this is a really good tip. We're gonna lock all this in. It's gonna completely dry down. Not gonna be transferring, no. But this was once a cream, okay? Let's just keep that in mind. So it's okay to take a finishing powder. I love this one. We talked about it yesterday because it's not a bright white. It has just a little bit less of a harshness to it. So we're gonna take this and we're just gonna go over. I'm gonna start here. And this is not only going to blur, but it is going to ensure that this does not go anywhere. Look at how smooth that looks now. So I want to use this, oof, I'm excited, but I want to clean up my lid space a little bit. I feel like the brown kind of came over a little bit too much. Micellar water, easy peasy. And we don't even have to worry about putting base down, remember that. So it's really easy. Okay. As long as you let micellar water completely dry down, you will never have an issue. It will not betray you. It will not change the way things wear. I have been doing this technique for many moons, okay? If you're really worried, give it a nice tap with your little towel. Get Sheila, get her going, okay? I wouldn't have even had to do that, but I just never want you to fear putting micellar water on there. Now this is the shade Moonstone, and it feels basically like a wet lid. Isn't that pretty? It doesn't feel, it looks, I'm sorry. It does not feel like anything. Oh, that's so pretty. And then we're gonna take our fluffier brush, the E29, and I'll just soften it there. Just give it some taps so it feathers over into the darker shade. And then I'll push this into the socket to soften that. Pretty. Now what we can do is, remember the dark brown one? Americano, yeah, just double checking that's what it was called. So we can take that and just kind of run that along this, just the center, okay? That's the easiest part to really access. Then we'll take an E26 and just bring it back over this way, and then bring it over this way. Just for a little depth at the lash line. I also think that these lashes look really good, even without winged liner or a really dark lash line. I feel like they blend in really nice. And what you're seeing me do there, did you see it just grab? The glue is so grabby in a good way. But what I'm doing there is I'm just pushing my natural lashes into the falsy, and I'm also making sure that this is really close to the lash line and on my skin. All right, I know today was short, but I do have other things. I was in my meetings, I had to do that. We're getting ready. I'm reading questions that are gonna be in the panel, but I had a lot of questions about these eyeshadow sticks, not just these, but eyeshadow sticks in general, and I just really wanted to help y'all out. I feel like eyeshadow sticks are marketed to be so easy, but then there's never any education with them. It's like, oh, they're just so easy. You just, well, you know, they take a little bit of technique. It doesn't mean that they're difficult, but we're kind of just given things and just we're just assumed to know what's going on. There's a little bit of technique with the shadow stick. All right, I love y'all so much. Thanks for understanding. It's just today. But yeah, I'm gonna go film the difference between the peach and the pink. I'm excited for that. All right, I love you so much. I hope you all have the most peaceful, just wonderful, pleasant weekend ever. And I'm always around. Love you.